Church, steeple, open doors, people. The old nursery rhyme holds true, except in one respect. After Sunday, the doors don't close, the people all don't run away. Weekdays are when America's churches, synagogues, and meeting houses fling their doors open to their communities. Weekdays are when these sacred places come most fully alive. This is a story of 3 congregations that give generously to their communities by sharing many of their resources, including their buildings. However, this is also a story of historic sacred places in urgent need of repair, a need that places the community outreach they offer at risk. In Camden, New Jersey, one of our country's poorest cities, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Fatima Church makes its city block-wide complex available for a range of community services. Most of them focus on Camden's youngest and most vulnerable residents.
It's loud at night, and you can't hardly get no sleep around here. And there's too much cursing and too much fires around here, and drug addicts and things like that.
A baseball league keeps kids active, engaged, and off the bleak streets.
Go trick-or-treating in some stores, they will give us candy. But around Pennsauken,
A daycare center thrives on the ground floor of a former parish school. And this year, Our Lady of Mount Carmel hosts a bold and unusual educational experiment. Run by the Christian Brothers, San Miguel School is a private, non-diocesan middle school for neighborhood boys. Small classes allow each boy to receive individual attention. Tuition is free.
This is Angel. This is Georgie.
Angel Reyes and Jorge Santiago, cousins, both 11 years old, were among the first to sign up.
But then we just read in this chapter that Jonas's parents go and separate. They don't live together anymore, and they go live in the house for childless adults.
they ain't hardly know about cars or colors.
That's a weird community.
Yeah.
We looked at a number of areas. Areas were not difficult to find. However, facilities were. And almost by accident, we discovered this building here at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Fatima Parish, and discovered that Father Sal, the pastor, had fixed up the building in hopes of using it for educational purposes. So we are using the middle school as a venue to try to work with the boys that are here to not only work academically, but in terms of life skills, health issues, behavioral issues, to keep them on the right track, to prepare them for the future.
For much of its 160 years, the elegant Church of St. Luke and the Epiphany stood slightly aloof from its Center City, Philadelphia neighborhood. Today, under the leadership of Father Roger Broadley, the church is a vital community resource. Its complex and flexible cluster of spaces provide meeting rooms for community groups, rehearsal space for choruses and chamber orchestras, and a health care clinic for the homeless. As parish administrator, Linda Boyce not only meets and greets the daily parade, she guides the flow.
Oh. Good morning, St. Luke and the Epiphany. I have worked here for nine years. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, on the priest's birthday, I came. But I've been coming here since 1978 when I moved into Center City. And I just found my way over here. It was a beautiful building, and it was full of nice people, but it wasn't lively like it is now, with so many people coming and going. I figure about 3,000 people a month. No, it's probably more now because we have a clinic here. You're so busy.
I know.
Are you not busy today?
We are. Actually, we've had a full schedule this morning, and everyone's showing up.
In February 1997, St. Luke's opened the Mary Howard Health Clinic, which provides health care for the most destitute residents of the neighborhood, the homeless. Currently open 3 days a week, the clinic accommodates 70 visits each month. Here, the homeless receive checkups and treatment in a setting that promotes privacy and dignity. Under the guidance of Reverend Henry Pinkney, First African Presbyterian Church similarly reaches out to serve a West Philadelphia neighborhood that has definitely seen better days. John Purnell has strong family ties to First African. Like his father before him, he grew up as a member of the congregation. And though he lives at a distance from the church, he spends every day here, arriving early and leaving well after dark, devoting his time and his energy to the surrounding community.
Well, there's one thing that I can truly say, that under your pastorate here, this is the first time that these doors have ever been as opened as much as they are. I can remember times when on a Sunday, after those doors were closed, that was it. And I love doing the work that I'm doing here.
Wonderful.
It sort of reminds me when I started out with the Philadelphia Housing Authority. And now, since I'm retired, then it gives me an opportunity to continue with my skills in the building maintenance.
Why would people want to buy compost?
Because it turned into dirt.
Yeah, but what's special about the dirt? It's not kind of...
Vitamins. I mostly like math and science.
Is there anything left that hasn't decomposed in yours yet?
Everything decomposed, but not all the way, but it's getting there.
Yeah?
I like math and science, and I like about it because science, it got a lot of interesting things that I ain't never knew about.
He licks you to find out who you are. He's been standing in the sun for a long time this afternoon, and he's really warm. But at night, he gets really cold.
I think for most of the boys here, they would get lost in a larger school. They are incredibly needy in terms of attention. They love attention. And in this small environment, we can give them a lot of attention just because of the size. And I think our size being small and purposely small, for that reason, we can give them the attention that they need.
And we're 96. Okay, do another round. I'll check it in a minute, okay?
In cities like Camden, long abandoned by other institutions, churches like Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Fatima, led by Father Sal Scuderi, stand firm. Rather than leave kids like Angel and Jorge to fend for themselves, congregations make a commitment to address their needs. Richard Dow knows the impact of such commitment. He grew up across the street from Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Fatima, and the parish has helped give his life direction and purpose. Now in charge of the parish's youth activities, Richard is giving back.
Angel and Jorge have quite a bit facing them, because they're not in school all day. There's a lot as far as drugs in this area, and there's a lot of temptation, to stray away. And Father Sal knows that this place, this little, 1 square block place, is a very strong weapon against that. If he can get as many kids into this school, that are not only parishioners, but kids, from the outside who don't necessarily go to this church. So if he can catch them early, and build on that, he's got the perfect weapon against what goes on here.
But Michael,
What?
you need help on one of the words.
Okay.
Where are we? Were we to the next month yet?
We're in University of the Arts doing their performance.
That's an all-day
The
affair with
Christmas-
these kids. And AARP, they're going to be planning a party.
And what's this AIDS Memorial Service Chapel
Which
on the
day?
9th?
On the 9th, hold on. So it's going to be a memorial service and bereavement counseling for how to handle the holidays when you've
Right.
suffered a loss.
Opening their doors, sharing their ample facilities for the good of all the community, the Congregation of St. Luke's, like other urban congregations across the country, translates faith into action.
Well, we have great acoustics, and that helps a whole lot to make us part of the cultural life of the city. If you're not religious, you still have life events, babies, funerals, weddings, anniversaries, and people know us, and they're comfortable here. So they come in, and so we're a community center for life events. The Spruce Street Singers are going to be downstairs rehearsing, so they'll have an accompaniment of music. I guess, do you think they can hear it? If they're in the chapel
No.
talking about bereavement, they won't be hearing people playing Broadway music from downstairs. Everything that happens in this neighborhood, this diverse neighborhood, is reflected inside of this church. We have a hospice next door, people in transition, people in trouble. We have people who live on the street, who are mentally ill and live on the street or addicted. We have fine houses, fancy houses with people with good incomes, good living. We have all of those people around us, and on Sunday morning and throughout the week, we have all of those people, a representative from every group, inside of this building.
Founded by a freed slave, First African Presbyterian was the first Black Presbyterian congregation organized in the United States. As the congregation outgrew its original South Philadelphia building, it migrated west, settling in this stately stone early 20th century church in 1957. Proud of its abolitionist roots, First African continues its historic mission of outreach to those enslaved by poverty, unemployment, and despair.
Reaching out, that is one of the main roles, is to reach out. We're right in the heart of a blighted neighborhood. During the time that we moved here, it might have been a better type of neighborhood, but through the years, we have seen much decay. And we're trying to bring back the changes and to reach the needs of the people in the neighborhood.
First African is hardly alone. A recent study by Partners for Sacred Places of the public value of sacred places found that urban congregations use their buildings to house, on average, 4 major community service programs. Congregations share their buildings at considerable sacrifice, receiving few dollars in compensation. In fact, the Partners for Sacred Places study calculated that volunteer hours, galvanized by congregations, would be the equivalent of more than 2 full-time staff people stationed year-round at each and every church or synagogue.
Right here.
Overwhelmingly, those who live and work nearby benefit most from a religious property's presence. Even when, as at First African, a church or synagogue draws its membership from far and wide, the congregation still focuses its energies, its goodwill, and its compassion on the immediate neighborhood.
One of the most important things that we have been able to do, and as you see, our cupboard here is stocked. There are many hungry people, and this is part of the outreach program. So therefore, we're getting calls from all over the city. People are really hungry.
You know, there are so many things that need our attention in a big old structure like this that it's frightening. Because when you look up at the bell tower, you see that there are cracks or, windows out up there need to be replaced, and it takes a whole lot of dollars to do that.
Historic structures pose a challenge to congregations like First African, who must often decide between paying for costly repairs and serving their community. Many defer maintenance until unsafe conditions force them to vacate part of their building, demolish it, or in the case of First African Presbyterian, dismember it. Without sufficient funds for repair, the buildings on which communities have come to depend will fall apart, often piece by piece.
John, can you explain to me again what's going on with those gargoyles up there, and what do we have to do to make sure that they're stabilized and that they're not a danger to people who are walking on the streets, or even to to the building.
Well, Reverend, there are cracks in those gargoyles as much as a 1/4-inch opening. So my suggestion is that we not try to repair them, but remove them.
Yeah.
They decided,
Well,
I
maybe
guess.
that's the course of action we're going to have to take.
Definitely, because
Considering the fact that this church, cannot afford to do all of that repair because we don't have the money. The resources are not here.
The parishioners of Our Lady of Mount Carmel have lovingly tended to their building. They spruce up the church for festivals. They helped construct and decorate the grotto, which has become a tranquil haven in the neighborhood. But volunteer labor can only do so much. In desperate need of extensive repair, the steeple has been closed.
Basically, the parishioners are its life's blood. We don't really get a lot of help from the outside. What this parish, lives on is the strength of its parishioners.
Well, he's not here at the moment. He'll be back. He'll be back because there's a support group here, a support group for people living with AIDS here today, right?
Urban churches are especially adept at responding to the dynamic change their communities experience. When scores of men in the neighborhood began dying from AIDS, St. Luke and the Epiphany was one of the first institutions to respond. Many of Philadelphia's most significant AIDS service organizations had their beginnings here. Now the church, happily, is ministering to men living with HIV. Every Monday, they gather in the church's spacious kitchen for food and fellowship.
Dear God, we gather as a circle of friendship, mindful of your presence. We pray that you would be with us today, and that also you would be with those who are not here, who are part of this fellowship, especially with those who may be sick or isolated or in any kind of trouble.
I saw my doctor today and my viral load had gone down. Still no new medications. There's some in the picture that he thinks would probably be good for me, but there's still a distance off.
Church experience was wonderful yesterday, and I can't say how much it meant for me to hear you tell us and give us permission to be ourselves, and that made us saints.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little down, sluggish, but I'm glad to be able to come out. That's one blessing that I look forward to now, where I used to just take things for granted. But right now, like I said, I'm glad to get out today, and hopefully tomorrow will be a better day.
It was a circle. The more we opened ourselves to anything that was happening in the community, the more people came because of it, not because we were out there proselytizing and saying you all have to be Episcopalians, but just because they felt at home here and they felt something was really going on here. It's a lively place.
Just as St. Luke's has identified and responded to the most urgent needs of its own Center City neighborhood, First African provides services its West Philadelphia community needs most.
I have to go pick up the students tonight. It's Monday.
Okay.
So I'll be back shortly.
All right, please.
All right, dear. See you later.
We were approached some time ago by the Penn students who wanted to set up a clinic here, which is a free clinic to the public. And we thought it would be a great idea to reach out to the neighborhood.
These are huge. Yeah, there's some smalls in there.
Our clinic is open here from 6 in the evening until 8, and that's every Monday. At 8 o'clock is the time that we shut down, and I bus the students back to the University of Penn. I come back and I'm finished for the evening. It's my love. This is my home. I was born in this church, and I have been a part of it ever since.
A lot of other, young adults and teens say the same thing about this place. It's home, and it develops you. Your basic structure of who you become starts here. If you're fortunate enough to be involved with this parish, from a very young age.
First African has formed the center of John's life. Richard and the Christian brothers devote themselves now to ensuring that Angel and Jorge will know that same sense of rooted connection and that they, as a result, will flourish.
I want to be an architect when I grow up because you get to build houses, models of houses.
I want to be an artist, cartoon artist, because I like to draw a lot and because it's like fun.
Modestly, almost invisibly, America's congregations go about their daily business, providing the lion's share of community services in their own facilities. Imagine your city without its churches and synagogues. Imagine your life. What would happen if churches like Mount Carmel, St. Luke's, First African Presbyterian simply disappeared? What would be the loss?
Well, if the church wasn't here, people would have to go to another spot to find a neighborhood center to come for their life events.
People are really hungry. They're out of work through loss of jobs and for other reasons. They look to this particular church as a beacon.
If the church wasn't here, it would have violence everywhere around this part of Camden.
There's something about Fatima that creates a sense of family that people just want to be a part of. And if it weren't here, you would feel a certain death in this area.
These sacred places are central to the life of cities, towns, and neighborhoods across this nation. They are ubiquitous and essential, nurturing and inspiring, available to all. They are also fragile and irreplaceable. We know now how vital these sacred places are to the shared life of the community. We also know that the larger public shares a stake in and a responsibility for their survival. Partners for Sacred Places invites you to join in helping to sustain and support America's older sacred places. There is a role for everyone, including individuals, foundations, corporations, and government. Your volunteer help, financial support, and encouragement can help Sacred Places stay the course, continuing their good work for many years to come. Partners for Sacred Places has issued a call to action on behalf of sacred places at risk. To join this effort or to learn more, please contact us.